Washington voice for economic development. So it's my honor to introduce the chair of the Board of the County Commissioners of one of our state's fine counties, beautiful counties, Mary Lee. Board of County Commissioners in 2017, the Commissioner served County Chief Deputy Auditor, graduate of Gonzaga University. He is certified. Started her career working for auditing Fortune 500 companies, and then spent 10 years as a Washington State auditor, auditing cities, counties, and school districts. Stepped away from the auditor's office, more time on the young families, and still have the time to serve for small businesses. Commission team's priorities center on the fiscal budget responsibility, protect public safety, law enforcement, investment in local businesses. She's the current 2024 Washington State Association of County Council. In that role, she helps create policy and lobby for the 39 counties across the state. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So thank you. I just want to say, well, this is your last day. It's been civic career. So I had a friend international over the weekend, so we were able to get together. I just have to say, it's those friendships and those things that you do outside of just what you're doing here. So talking to your peers and getting to know each other, being able to call each other, being able to talk versus someone else's community are so important. I saw that this week. My friend from Texas came up. Was excited to get out of the cool weather state, so we were excited to have it. So it was really fun. But I just want to say, take advantage of that time to make those peer connections and enjoy yourself. So with that, welcome to last. This is your best day. Association. The something that I can share today is our beautiful new Spoken County is a hub of innovation and knowledge. Our diverse and dynamic spans several key industries, including health services, life sciences, aerospace, advanced manufacturing, logistics, agribusiness, professional services, and most importantly, research. Diversity not only fuels our growth, but also makes Spokane a resilient and vibrant place to do business. Our commitment to education and workforce development is unwavering. With the 2 colleges, 5 universities, and a labor force of over 267,000 people, Spokane County is equipped with the talent and skills needed to support our thriving. Of institutions like Gonzaga University in Washington State, Spokane University, Spokane Health Sciences campus, advocates our robust talent, ensuring a steady stream of educated and motivated individuals ready to contribute to the success of our local businesses. Spokane's strategic location and excellent infrastructure enhances our economic potential. There are transportation, which includes the Spokane International Airways. The connectivity is crucial for businesses looking to expand and reach and access our new markets efficiently. However, Spokane County's business-friendly climate is characterized by supportive regulatory environment. We pride ourselves in being open for business and staying competitive on the other side of the world. As you know, Spokane is paying attention to this is what's happening. We're dedicated to fostering a collaborative spirit in our business, community, government, and education institutions. I think we've seen that in the course of your time. Stephanie Curran is going to be speaking with the podium, with our sports commission. All those things are so important for us to stay working together. Some of the funding for these different organizations actually comes from the county. So we're still going to as our so we're not doing that ourselves. with the experts. So one of the things that Spokane is known for is sports. And one of the things I'm proud is that this distinction of Spokane Indians, our local minor league baseball team, we're putting $16 million into our stadium to renovate it to make sure that these major league baseball standards. Another pride of Spokane is the Hunting Bulldogs, our basketball team. As an alumni, I always want to say that. So when I travel across the nation, I recommend this for the so with these improvements, it's exciting. We're going to do more stuff this afternoon. Thanks to the visionary leadership facilities director, CEO Stephanie for program, the state-of-the-art facility, includes increasing for sports events, enhancing our community's recreational offerings, and attracting visitors from across the nation. The stadium serves as a modern venue, and then the new stadium is the Spokane School District. So kind of bringing in to that, it all seems like it's government, public-private partnership to really do things that we want to do. And for that later, so we're just very excited about Spokane. I leading the way in some of these innovative items. One of them we heard about yesterday brought all the cities together to really look at one instead of looking at it individually. Because it truly is going to be driving. Here is the city of Spokane or Marion County. So with that, I just want to say thank you. And today, last day here, safe travels home. And thank you. We hope you got a chance to enjoy Spokane. Back across the state. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you again, Commissioner Queen, for speaking today, but also for all the important work that you're doing. And now I'm pleased to introduce David Fadden, Managing Director of the Economic Development Division of Seattle, another one of WEDA's valued annual sponsors. They will introduce our keynote speaker. Please help me thank Dave and the board.
Just a personal reflection. Spokane is my first station, and I just think it's such an amazing city. We're so lucky. Good to be back. So visiting North Town was a brand new mall. So again, good to be back. I'm here to introduce our next speaker. I'm doing this so we need that important tourism is in our DNA, and this is a huge opportunity to showcase our world, put our passport forward, and to capture some economic benefits. Now we're going to host 6 different huge events in super full size. To put it in perspective, we expect to have 750,000 visitors. If you put that in perspective, we all know the United States split concerts are impactful. This is about 6 of those events. So what we expect is that hundreds of thousands of visitors come to Washington State. And what we're going to try to do is not just post them to see football or soccer, but we're going to try and get them on the cruise. We're going to try and get them over here so or see the best of the rest of Washington State. So this is a huge opportunity for all of us. And so, let's do this well, but let's also do it responsibly. Moving on, as I looked at the FIFO website, what I was really pleased and impressed with was a quote from Peter Gonzalez, really about how we want to host this with a spirit of community, innovation, and inclusion. And I was just really impressed by that as values that will help us do the right things, pull off this big event. I was also really pleased that they're already working on some efforts. As you know, hosting this is going to thousands of being purposeful, creating opportunities, need in our community. That's who we are, and how it should be done. So we are very lucky that there is a host. It's a perfect fit for the job. Comes from Seattle Sound, president of business operations, history of being in the middle of organizing, promoting, supporting events, and especially supporting events.
What he said, I guess. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm very excited to be addressing you about the largest event that ever hit our city. My name is Peter Tomazawa. Just announced Seattle Rain. Through that, I've got a chance to meet a lot of people in sports. We have in the room, I think he's media here, sports velocity. Spokane velocity, if not, I saw them earlier. So we're really excited about what's happening in Spokane. I got off the plane last night. I said, airport, asked for by everyone in this room that was involved in it. It's wonderful. I'll explain why that's really important here. At least to the World Cup organizing things. But what I thought I'd do today is really sort of take you through what this is, what we're trying to do with this, and hopefully give you tons of thought about how your communities can get involved with us. Is that all right? Okay. Yes. That's actually a picture. I'm actually in that crowd. That's in Qatar in 2022. That was the opening of that's the fan festival in Qatar, in Doha. And it was just amazing. And I can't wait for our children, our people in Washington to experience this cacophony of people from all around the world, all walks of life, all political beliefs. Doesn't matter, just there in massive humanity, fun, peace, which, given how our world is today, what could be better than that? Our children, if you're 10, have never witnessed anything other than divisiveness. And this is the moment of unity. Dave said it best, first quoted me, but this is the spirit of unity. And that's really what soccer is. So soccer is a sport about bringing communities together. It's always a center point of community everywhere in the world, and it's very true here in Washington. But that is an image I hope that 10-year-old, 8-year-old will take away. That's the image I took away from Qatar. This particular picture was by ownership. The scale of this, as Dave mentioned, is massive. It's unfathomable, actually. There were 5 billion unique viewers of the Qatar World Cup. 5 billion. That is 55% of the world's population. The World Cup final had an audience of 1.4 billion. That is 7 times larger than the Super Bowl. It is 40% bigger than the Olympic Games. That's the Tokyo Games. I'm pretty sure Paris will be right up there, but I can say that until the Paris Games. I'll have to change the slide after. We are 40% bigger than the Olympics. I think what's really interesting, there's 2 points to make here. The least watched match, the Qatar World Cup, the least watched, most uninteresting matchup of nations, garnered an audience of 200 million. Super Bowl gets 175. That is how massive this thing is. Interestingly enough, the second most watched sporting event in all of America, 2022. Second most watched sporting event was the World Cup final. between Argentina and France. What's amazing about it, so it beat our national sport World Series, beat everything out there except for the Super Bowl. And what's amazing about that fact is that the match was played at 7 a.m. Sunday morning. That was hardly prime time. So it beat everything else, including college football, which I was surprised at what March Madness. So this will be the largest tournament of its kind ever. Not just a high man, it's just simple math. All right, we're going to go from, I lost the numbers. We're going to go from 32 teams to 48 teams. And we're going to go, this is the first time ever that there'll be 3 host countries. Canada, United States, and Mexico. We'll be in 16 host cities. But we'll be across our state for sure. So the cities are in Canada, Vancouver, and Toronto. In Mexico is Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Mexico City. And going kind of west coast to east coast, there's Seattle, Bay Area, Levi Stadium, Los Angeles, Kansas City, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta. On the east coast will be in Miami, Philadelphia, Boston, and New York. So those are the cities that have been assigned. We have recently announced our match schedule. We will have 6 matches in Seattle. These are critical to know what our schedule is. So we'll start June 15th. We'll have what's called 4 group stage matches. And then we'll have 2 knockout stages. Truth is, I was hoping for 7, but and I was hoping for a quarter. That's what that was sort of the game behind the game. Give you a little bit of insight behind the scenes. In fact, after the announcement, FIFA called me and said, "Peter, are you okay with this?" Because I know they knew that I was lobbying for 7. And I had to say, yeah, I kind of wanted to quarterfinal, but secretly inside I was over, but I had to say, no, it's a little disappointing that we didn't get the quarterfinal. You got the U.S. men's national team, and that's critical. Like if you would call me the day before and said, Peter, you have a choice between 7 matches in the quarterfinal, 6 matches in the guaranteed U.S. men's national team, I'm taking the 6-pack all day long. And so I was thrilled, beyond thrilled to have that. Funny, the nice little inside story on that is the U.S. men's national team were told where they were going to play their first match. They're playing on June 12th in Los Angeles. That's where the FIFA and U.S. Soccer told the team that they were going to play. They got to select, the team got to select where they go next. They picked the Pacific Northwest Seattle. And it's amazing. And what's really cool about that story is I was at a press conference with Greg Burkhalter, the coach, and the press asked him, "Why did you select Seattle?" And he goes, "Well, Seattle is a great place. It's a wonderful place." And he goes, "We are 8 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie in that stadium because the fans and the place will be going crazy, and I can't wait to march to the match with all the Washington Olympians." That was an amazing comment. I was like, man, you're the best thing ever. What's interesting about that actually is they're not going to San Francisco after they come here. They go back to LA. So I'm glad I'm not San Francisco. Shouldn't say that except anyway, one of the things that we missed that we were the region of inclusion. And so FIFA selected us for the Juneteenth match. So not only is the U.S. men's national team coming on June 19th, but the team match, we also have June 26th, which is the pride match. So FIFA listened to our pitch. They said that decided that we will have, we're the only one of 2 cities to have both. Boston is the other one. There are 4 cities that will have a Juneteenth match. There will be 4 cities that have a pride match. We're the only city that will have U.S. men's national team on Juneteenth. We have already started working on the planning for what that looks like. In fact, we have Randy here with us, and she was at our match in Seattle for the Sounders match on Saturday. We commenced with the rest of the Black Caucus, which is fabulous, and we were already engaging and thinking about how we're going to really make this a thing, blow this up, how we show up on TV across the nation and across the world. That match will have a minimum audience amount of 300 million globally, but it could be bigger. It will be the most watched match in America for sure on Juneteenth, so that's really fun. We're engaging our community already on that. More to come on our matches and everything else. It is truly a once-in-a-lifetime moment for our region. It has been only here, this will be the second time in 100 years. Just based upon rotation and schedule, I don't expect it to come back for another 30. I'm 62. I will probably not be here to witness that. And that 10-year-old that I talked about, that person will be 40. So, you know, it's a big moment for us. This is a picture of what we think we might have an activation down on the waterfront celebrating our version of the fan festival. But it's suffice it to say, we need to take maximum advantage of this. And so that's what I'm responsible for doing, but it really takes a village. Hang on, screen. I don't know what happened to this page. Anyway, we do have that vision that Dave mentioned. When I set out to do this, you know, every organization needs a mission statement. Our mission, and you'll see here, is to foster a lasting legacy. That's what we want to do. We're going for a 1962 World's Fair like legacy. We're not going to build one Space Needle, but we're going for a people-based legacy. And it's for our entire region. It's not just Seattle-based. And what we're doing when I say guided by the spirit of soccer, I do mean unity. Soccer to me is the same, is the exact same word as unification, innovation, and inclusion. Our legacy pillars, you can't really see this. There are 6 of them, and I'll just read them out to you. They're human rights, sustainability, accessibility, what I call the 3 C's, community, culture, and children. Everything we do is guided into those 6 buckets of where we're going to make impact. And there are programs involved in each one of those areas. And some of the things that we're working on is workforce development, as Dave mentioned. I had a nice breakfast this morning. We were discussing like some of the things that we were doing and contemplating. And, you know, we sat around thinking about how we're doing things differently. And I can tell you by my own experience with working with the other 16, 15 host cities, we are doing things very, very different. Most cities are going, most host city people like me, they're 60. There are other 15 people like me around working with their communities and talking about what's about to come. It's always in the vein of like, get ready. You know, we're going to need this much more security. We're going to need this, we're going to need that. It's always about a demand-driven thing. We're trying to turn the equation around and think about how can we help supply. There's a massive shortage of police officers. There's a massive shortage of EMT. There's a massive shortage of workers in pretty much every space, and especially the places that we're going to be touching, hospitality. And so we're trying to figure out programs. We're working with community colleges, for example, to source jobs for the police department. And those are the kind of programs that we're making, and those are the sort of lasting legacies. So workforce development is a critical one. We have put together a human rights workforce task force committee. They're working with us on where we need to show up in anti-trafficking, and also mental health. So those are the top things that we're sort of tackling. In terms of accessibility, you know, we've committed to doing a no to low guest house emissions pledge. This is also something that you're going to hear from us in terms of where we show up, in terms of power, which is a big, huge state initiative, mobility and waste. One of my favorites, and this is really sort of TBD how we make this come alive, but accessibility generally means to people like me, like getting tickets to people. You know, that's what most people think about. I'm sort of thinking about this in a slightly different way, in terms of featuring blind soccer. There it is. The blind soccer is I worked on the Olympics for Los Angeles prior to becoming a Sounder president. That's where I learned the business of sports. We were successful in securing the Olympic and Paralympic Games for 2028. It's the third time in history that the Olympic Games will be coming to Los Angeles. The first time the Paralympic Games are coming. I fell in love with the Paralympic movement. It is phenomenal. Watching these people with impairments do things at a world-class level, it's just so inspiring. And blind soccer is one of those things. Imagine playing soccer with no sight. That's what they do. They have a bell on the ball. They have a coach that's sighted that sits behind the goal, banging on the post, right? So the player that's blind knows where the goal is by hearing the banging on the post. The goalies are sighted and you can score on these guys. It's amazing. I think the Brazil national team put out blindfolds, played with the blind national team. They lost like 20-0. It was amazing. So inspiring. We'll probably have an exhibition event like that to show people around the world what that looks like. We will be in 9 fan zones across the state. We'll be announcing where we will be going sometime here this fall. Yeah, that's going to be fun because every city is going to want it. But not every city is going to be able to get it for sure. But what we have planned to do is build a community playbook so that cities that don't become one of our fan zones will have the opportunity to be able to figure out how to participate in the World Cup during the World Cup now 2026. So a community playbook is coming. Another playbook that we pledged to build, and we have some funding for, is an economic development playbook, which I imagine most people should be really digging on that. We are focused on small and minority-owned businesses and how they can participate in the World Cup when it comes. And so that's work in progress. That's actually happening. One of the things I wanted to illustrate to people here is we are focused on getting people around, not just Seattle, but around our state. And people require us to have an app. And, I'll sit down with our team, we're trying to really figure out, oh, we should have an app that connects to, local restaurants and local businesses. And all of a sudden, this thing is growing and growing. Like, what are we doing? We're literally trying to boil the ocean. And so, we sort of dialed it back. And I said, you know what we should do? We have some minimum requirements for people. We have to have an app that will hook into their ticketing system so you can get your tickets. And they had thought that they ought to farm out to the local organizing communities, people like me, like wayfinding, how do you get around the city, basically. And I said, you know what, let's just throw out their requirements. Let's just do what we need to do. We'll do minimally what they want us to do, which is hook into their website, their ticketing app. But what we're going to do is reimagine wayfinding. And we're going to gamify wayfinding. We've already entered into a contract that will take essentially, the game Pokemon Go with the augmented reality. I think we're going to do that with a tourism version. So we will reward people to go to places that we program. So we will do that with our sponsors. We will also do that with our communities. So what I'm thinking is sort of like, we haven't finalized this, so don't hold me to it. But essentially, there'll be a way to collect badges or rewards by geofence location. So if you show up in a place like Pokemon Go, you get something that pops up onto your phone, and then you collect them. Then you can turn those in once you get a certain number to for swag, buttons, shirts, maybe even an enter to win local tickets. And yes, we will program Tri-Cities to this. That's definitely has been very, very vocal, very, very aggressive on trying to get that. I would say she's right up there with Bellingham. Bellingham folks, yeah, there you go. I don't think I've ever been to a speech when I go to many of these things, do many of these things where somebody from Bellingham has run up after me and said, "Don't forget about it." It will not be forgotten. So that's what we're doing in terms of economic development and getting people around. One of the key things is children. And I know Ashley is here somewhere. Ashley, she's right there waving in the back. Go speak to her. She runs the Ray Foundation. She's one of my most favorite people in the whole world. She's a heart of gold and a mission that is gold, which is providing free places to play for underserved children. She's been working on this 26 by 26 before we got the 26 games. And we've now officially joined forces. So this will be part of our program. We're part of her program. It's very much a joint venture. We're pledging to build 26 fields by 2026 across our state for free places to play for children. See, actually, yeah. And I think she's speaking at a panel later today, but it's worth talking to her about that. The other thing too is we're very focused on the arts. So we're creating what I call a unity loop. It's Little Seattle, you know, like Boston has a freedom trail, or Seattle will have a unity loop. I hope it becomes a thing, but we're going to create a walking path through our city, all connected by art, culture. What I'm thinking is the 9 fan zones that we go to will have some extension of that, and maybe that spurs communities to want to do something similar. Because when I went this as a resident of Seattle, living on the First Avenue, right across from Pier 66, where all the boats, you know, the cruise ship boats dump off, there are people looking for stuff to do. There are hordes of people walking around. I see them all the time. Now we have, what we will offer, and we'll do, is have an organized way to get around our city, enjoy the beautiful sights and scenes, all connective tissue. Breadcrumbs will be street art, statues, things that are already existing actually. You don't even have to create stuff, actually. You just have to create the reason. And that will be featured through our app. So visitors from out of town will do that. And what we're hoping, our ability to have our app running for the fall. And we test it out, letting locals first crack at all that stuff. That's what we're trying to do. So really fun stuff. The tax eye up there, which is a 1962 legacy from the World's Fair, which is the Seattle Pacific Center Science Center. I just met with the CEO there. We're going to work on revitalization. So I built kind of 62 to 26. It's a legacy that's going to be reinvigorated. I will leave time for questions, I hope. What we did was, you know, I have this, for the first time, you know, so we're talking about legacy, and I have to actually go out and raise money. What people don't understand, what they want to make clear in this group is that WEDA actually are a nonprofit. Most people find that very surprising. I am a nonprofit running, I'm separate from WEDA. So that's just so you guys know. And people like say, well, wait a minute, people make billions of dollars. They do. So where does this money go? It goes to all the member countries. Just a real quick story on it. I don't know why they don't focus on this, because it's a wonderful story. There are 211 members of WEDA. That's actually more than recognized countries. The reason for that is part of the membership includes places like Wales, you know, Northern Ireland, Scotland. So those are part of the membership. Well, all those billions of dollars that they make on these television deals to show the world's largest game, the world's largest stage, gets recycled back to the member countries, including our own. And if you notice, the women's national team, which we all love, Yes? Well, there's been a real of competition. Women were so dominant for so long. Has everybody ever stopped to think why U.S. women were so dominant, other than that U.S. women were fast? You know, it was really an investment that was made with Title IX. Title IX was so novel, so fantastic, it really helped level the playing field between men and women. And we're moving toward that, I hope. But it also allowed women, the U.S. women, to excel relative to women around the world, right? And now we find ourselves in a situation where we're the fifth ranked nation in the world for women's soccer. Fifth. So you can say the gap is more than closed. How did that happen? Did it happen just because young girls were inspired in countries like Morocco all of a sudden? I don't think so. What happened was, this is the truth, those billions of dollars got recycled in every country and they were invested equally into men's and women's sports across the world. So you can almost think of FIFA actually having done a Title IX soccer. That's pretty impressive, I think. And so now we have this amazing thing. But one of the things I set out to do was, this whole legacy thing. And so I could have gone to the usual suspects. I have to raise money for what I need programs that we're doing. I could have gone out initially to the usual suspects, large corporations in our backyard, but I focused first on finding a true, who could be and would be a true legacy supporter. And we landed one in the Puyallup tribe. They're the first time in history that Indigenous peoples have ever, in the history of FIFA, become World Cup supporters on anything. It was one of the most inspiring meetings I've ever had. Talked in front of their entire council. We talked about what the World Cup could do, what it could mean. And ultimately, they decided to tell their story, their voice, to an audience that they measured millions of people, in order to foster a better understanding of First Nations people. Not just the Puyallup tribe, but all. I'm just like, okay, life is complete because I don't really need to do much more. That's so freaking awesome. And so they're a very great partner. There's some more stories coming about that whole story arc of how this will be laid out into the build-up of the World Cup. Under disclose what that is. And so I won't. Just stay tuned because it's going to be awesome. It's really what I call they're raising in the back of their neck, kind of chicken skin moment. That is when this will be. And we now are in the process this year of finding work. We are going to be across the state. This doesn't look like we're going to be across the state, but that map will be filled in with the 9 fan zones that we will be. One of the things I want to talk a little bit about is sort of the Spokane opportunity, since we are in Spokane. There is the game behind the game. What does that mean? So we are hosting 6 matches in summer 6. But every nation will come here 2 to 3 weeks before the tournament and set up home-based camp. Okay, here's the map. We have 16 host cities. We have 48 nations. 3 are already in their home countries. There are 45 nations that need to find homes. All right? So there are going to be places all around the country. In fact, FIFA wants 72 choices for those 45 spots. We have proposed Renton, where the Sounders have their facility, and we have proposed Gonzaga University. And there's certain criteria that people need is the airports, proximity to hotels, and the fact that you guys have Expo and all those things all led into this. We're working closely with the leaders here in town. I'm very hopeful, actually. It's still not 100%. We still need to qualify. We'll be working the rest of this year to make sure Spokane and Gonzaga are part of this. But if it happens, Surely it depends on which nations come here. Not only do they come with their friends and family, they come with their countries. This city will be hit hard in a good way with people flooding here from their countries to be watching the practices, the trainings. It'll be a celebration for about 2 or 3 weeks. They will stay here through till the time they get eliminated, if they get eliminated, right? So they'll could be in the group stage. So that's 6 weeks of time that a country will be embarked. They'll fly in and out to different meetings. That's super exciting. That's sort of, we start that and we'll talk to the sports commission folks here. I don't know if she's here. But, we were talking to them about like, how we coordinate, how we make sure that we get this situation going for Spokane. We also have 2 training sites, Salem University, University of Washington. Another one that's under consideration is Starfire in Seattle. But we will be, like I said, most interestingly, probably for most of all of you, is 9 fan zones across the state. The other thing is to know on this is that we are in very close contact with our colleagues in Vancouver. So that corridor area between Vancouver and Seattle is probably going to be a big recipient of a lot of traffic, I would say. And I'm just speaking that with one of the bus company folks. They're like, do you think we ought to increase bus schedule, between Vancouver and Seattle? I said, well, only if you want to make money, but you don't have to. So we'll see how that all plays out. And Portland, of course, to our south is another location that's probably very advantageous to cities like Vancouver, probably Tri-Cities, like further southern parts. That's really what I had for a presentation. I don't know if you want to do question and answer. If you have questions, happy to do so. There's already one right there. So.
Yeah, one back here.
Hi, Peter. Ben Walters. I'm with the city of Linwood, and we're a community that wants to get involved now. We're 13 hotel rooms that on August 30th have direct light rail access to the stadium, and our friends in Canada know our community very well. They visit us every weekend to go shopping. So, what can we do to get involved now? Community of our side. Thanks.
That's a great question. I would say we will be reaching out for sure to communities. I mentioned the community playbook on how to set up. And, certainly, you could get a hold of us. There isn't a lot of activation now necessarily in terms of hotels and events and things of that nature. However, we are doing a round of watch parties this summer. And I don't have the actual schedule in front of me. We can furnish that to everybody. And we did it last summer, then we expanded to some of the locations and cities. Will be, in fact, on Sunday, we'll be here, no lie. And that's right before the Velocity match. To no lie and go to the Velocity match after. But we're sort of experimenting with different formats of communicating, how communities could take advantage of this. But rest assured, Linwood is certainly something I know that has been spoken about, talked about. So thank you for registering interest. I would say find Dylan Ordonez. He's right there waving his hand. Just right there in the back. And then want to register your interest in something like that. He's been tremendous community support for us. He does our government relations. And just cares about our state so much. And works with the DCBO group. And so I just get your contact information for Dylan.
All right, I think I won't see any questions in the swap card, and we'll have one more right up front. And then I think we can.
I'll just say while we're getting the mic set up, Stephanie came up to me last year, talked about Tri-City, are going to be a watch party. So it's not like I'm saying stuff and hopefully deflecting your attention, listening, because this is about what it means to your communities. It's important to register.
Hi, this was incredible, a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Tracy Harrell. I serve multiple roles, but primarily my hope is when I look at the subject around sustainability within an equitable future. My question that came up is, I love soccer, so I won't be participating, but what are the opportunities for small businesses, for community organizations that are diverse that can actually benefit from the preparation and the planning for this event?
Great question. So the question was around how can small businesses, minority-owned businesses participate in that event. I mentioned that we are focusing on an economic playbook so that there's something written. One of the things that we looked at is sort of the performance of Major League Baseball All-Star, and particularly as it relates to small business. We learned a lot. And really what we've learned most is that information was lacking, and we're attempting to make sure that that is not an excuse that we have as to why minority-owned businesses, small businesses feel the full impact. One thing that we are doing in our purchasing and all of our thinking around hospitality is making sure that we reach out to minority-owned businesses to give them a shot at this. I'll give you a great example. I raised the Davis station, really terrible, but we were in Yakima last year. We actually went to a bakery, local bakery, and this Latina woman was so excited about it. She's like, whatever you want, we'll do. And I'm like, going ready to do it. Like, we gave her the largest cookie order in history.
I love it.
And she worked for like a full week straight to make this happen for her. And she made beautiful cookies that we gave out to the kids. And so that's our priority. So that's goes without saying. I meet every month with small business owners in Seattle, for sure, because we're gonna have 750,000. I think that's actually low, but 750,000 visitors in that area, and we're gonna try to get them to visit places like Walla Walla, Tri-Cities, Yakima, Bellingham, Spokane. You know, we're gonna try to give them incentives, reasons to go there. So, yeah, reach out to us and tell us how you want your communities to be hooked in. We're working with Laura Kleiss, the intentionalist on small business, connectivity, but we're actually building into our purchasing principles to make sure that we reach out to small businesses and when we need to buy a bunch of stuff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you today. It's an honor of a lifetime to be able to work on this project. I just hope that you come away here feeling like we're not just hosting games in 2026. If that's all we're doing, how do we be doing this? Because to me, we know how to do the games part of it. The opportunity here in front of us is taking advantage of the world's largest event coming here and showing the best Washington has to the world. Thanks.
All right, one more round of applause for Peter. Fantastic. So that's really interesting, and it's exciting for all of us to have an opportunity to get our communities at least on the list for all the things that they're going to need to support this event. This is going to be exciting for our whole state. I think that we learned a really great deal, and that we think about this opportunity for the whole, in a whole new way. Which is going to be the perfect segue for Bruce Kendall, who's now going to come and bring up our next speaker, who's going to help us keep thinking about how to capitalize on COVID 2026.
Thanks, Mandy. Got a special
announcements to make. I'm gonna ask David Fett, come up here, Dave. David Fadden doesn't need introduction to this group, but I want to say a couple things about him. We have a surprise award for David Fadden. It does just happen. When I arrived in Tacoma in 1999, David Fadden called me from Yakima and he said, "We are going to work so closely together." I said, "Of course we are, David. We've known each other for years. You're running an economic development organization. I'm running an economic development organization, but we're actually running the same organization." I said, "Dave, what are you talking about?" He says, "It's not Tacoma. It's not Yakima, it's Tacoma and Yakima." And so he taught me a whole new language of economic development. So when I go to the Paris Air Show and I'm recruiting companies, I talk about Tacoma and Yakima, and they look at me with a blank expression, and I give them Dave's personal phone number so they can call me or what's going on. Two quick stories about Dave. Dave McFadden saved WEDA multiple times. He was board chair in the late 90s, he was board chair again, probably again and again, in the early 2000s. He and I kind of alternated as we tried to figure out where to go with this amazing association that has now landed where it is today under Suzanne's amazing leadership. Dave, we're not here today without Dave McFadden as a profession, and we really owe him a lot. And why are we giving this award? One, we really like Dave a lot. Two, he's retiring soon. Like yesterday, he told me even sooner than I thought. So I want to make sure we recognize him with this award, which is for outstanding leadership in economic development for the state of Washington. And as I think about sports, which I do most of the time, and I think about 3-on-3 basketball, which you must be doing if you're at Yakima or if you're in Spokane with the Hoop Fest coming up shortly. And I always, sometimes I say, economic development is a lot like jazz, it's a lot like basketball, but I'll use basketball in this instance. What do you have to have in basketball? You have to have teamwork, you have to have economic development, you have to have teamwork. What else do you need in basketball? You got to be able to improvise. The game is very fluid. What do you have to do in economic development? You have to be able to improvise. And what's the third thing you have to be able to do in basketball and in economic development? Occasionally, you have to hit the other guy in the face with your elbow. And just get him the hell out of the way. That's the David McFadden I know. That's the David McFadden I love. And with that, Suzanne's got an award somewhere that's right behind me. And with that, how about a round of applause and maybe a standing ovation for David McFadden.
I remember sharing news about my retirement at a conference. It's been, the story was is that it was the day before my 35th birthday. I still remember going to work in this profession. It was kind of obviously the most significant step I've taken career-wise in my life, and it's been nothing short of an amazing journey. Bruce is right, we quickly learned that our counties were connected to Mount Rainier. And, that initial observation led to 25 years of amazing partnership. So, I want to share this with him because we have been on this road together. And it has truly been impactful. It's been a roller coaster at times, but here we are with great space. And so, what I've always said is economic development is a team sport. Maybe it's basketball, maybe it's soccer now, it doesn't matter. What we really need to remember is we win when we work together. That's what economic development is really all about. It's teamwork. And it's really aligning the forces of good in your community, your region, your state, and advancing those economic opportunities for all. And, we've made amazing progress in the state. I'm just flattered with the successes we've had. But you all know that our work is far from finished. We need to be champions for climate change. We need to be champions for equity. There's a whole generation of work that awaits us that's incredibly important. probably more important today in terms of putting our society on a proper trajectory than any time during my career. So, the challenges are real, but within that, I always find that developers find the opportunities. So I leave you feeling very good about the future, feeling blessed just to be part of this community, and thank you very much.
All right, so, speaking of winners, I'm asking Lynn Longden to come on up here. She's going to introduce the next two speakers. Lynn Longden is the Rural and Small Business Team Manager of the Office of Economic Development, competitiveness for the Washington State Department of Commerce. Let's all say that together. No, we'll just let her be herself. Lynn has been at this work for a long, long time in a variety of scenarios in the state. Is a powerful ally for all of us in economic development. With that, please welcome Lynn to the podium.
Thank you so much, Grace, for that lovely introduction. And congratulations, Dave. I had my birthday started a week ago. Now I'm feeling, I'm dating myself for sure. So the Washington State Department of Commerce is honored to sponsor WEDA and to support all of our important work together to bring jobs in Washington State. There are several Department of Commerce employees here today, and if you haven't had a chance yet, and you see them, please go up and introduce yourself to them. We're all here to support you. So one of my many roles, I was thinking about the title that Bruce called me by, how many titles in commerce. One of my various roles in commerce is to support tourism. Our tourism initiatives in the state of Washington. I do that by managing, staffing, and supporting the Washington Tourism Marketing Authority. I also do it by contracting with the state of Washington Tourism to actually put some now, like as a follow-up to Peter's exciting remarks about the 2026 growth, I'm pleased to partner. Commerce was pleased to partner with the legislature on increased investment. WEDA wanted to give one of our legislative champions, State Representative Brandy Dobbin. Did I do it? Yay! A chance to talk to you about those very important investments that the legislature has passed. We also have a true tourism expert and a tremendous leader. David Blandford, Executive Director of the State of Washington Tourism. You can read all about their bios in SWAT cards, so I won't give them to you. But please join me in welcoming. Hello, my name is Fourth Legislative District in Summer's County. I'm also a registered economic development events. I'm not going to say that. So, just to get it out of the way, right? Reading is always fun, and then most later. Sometimes I can kind of be like, it's kind of like so I'm usually getting ready. So we did invest some this year, this last year. I'm only gonna hit on a few things, but I do. We added $1 million to our operating budget for local destination marketing organizations. Help increase in the tourism aspect. We put it into updating some practice fields and also $20 million for the Washington State Public Stadium in order to do the upgrades that are necessary to host. And in transportation,
$1 million towards the plan with, so that the Department of Transportation can kind of work with the committee to start planning on what's going to be needed. So there's that. But I think we all know that a lot of the work that we need to do is going to cost a lot. And it's also going to take a lot of investment in the process. And so I think it's going to be really important for communities to be able to identify current transportation issues. If there's work that needs to be done, organizations can actually do that kind of work, because it's not that hard. And 2 years seems like it's a long time, but when you got to build and prepare, it's really hard. Secondly, one of the things that we didn't flood into yet is housing. Now, I know that in most areas, we already have a shortage of housing, right? There's a crisis in Washington when it comes to that. It's gonna get worse when we have three-quarters of a million people descending on the area, a bunch of teams, a bunch of additional workers. And so I think this can be a really good opportunity to also start to look at ways to use World Cup money to be able to push an increase in housing stock, so that when it does come, people aren't going to be displaced, because we believe we're going to see a shift from long-term renters or rental properties switching to short. Those are the two things that I think we are going to need a lot of engagement in order for us to be able to do it. And in order for us to be able to identify where there needs to be more emphasis. So, as I'm not somebody who really loves standing in front of people and talking, I'm happy to answer any questions. Score.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lynn. Mr. Donnie. Great to be with you. Took a little bit into the break. Please, through these, if anyone has any questions, I'll be here. Just come see you. You know that tourism is to the wall. How are we doing? Latest stats tell us that visitor volume is still down. Spending is up, but in real terms, we have to inflation. When we think about geographic equity of tourism, important to know that Seattle reporting back drove up those spending stats. Really, throughout the balance of the state, the pace of recovery is different. So we have to think about that. We have been, my office, State of Washington Tourism, like FEMA, is a nonprofit, not a state agency, and we're looking for funding on top of it. Since the pandemic, we've invested a huge amount of what we have into the industry, recovery, development, building blocks of economic development, rural underserved, statewide. Those programs we definitely want to continue. Right now, there's a big focus on our work with the Department of Commerce and the remaining federal COVID dollars, $3.5 million, back to the industry. We've signed a contract with Commerce to disperse it. We're in the process of doing that. It's a good deal of money. It's a broad scope. To be illustrative here, there are many grants that go out. We have a portal. Businesses, communities, regions are applying every week. I would focus here on the number of applications. It's really interesting. There's definitely a need for recovery funds, development funds across multiple areas, from rural tourism marketing to sports, arts, always a need for technical assistance, private entities as well. We will give all this money out throughout the balance of the year and into 2025.
FIFA, as Peter said, you will be around the state. You know about the zones, the base camps, the standard nature of your CF games back and forth. Pick up. There's a lot to do, and the committee is doing a lot of that. But so much more from a tourism standpoint to really realize these visitors and maximize their visits. Everything from transportation, lots of travel advisory, crossing that border, how to do it, crossing the border, seamless. But more so the legacy of really maximizing for Washington. So that means really using our overseas offices, we have to do our national firm. We're going to mobilize all of those. Here's a hard transition, not an easy one here, but the question always comes up: where is state tourism? How is it managed? What is the path ahead? You know this, you've seen these listings. Washington is always last. The Western states, the least funded across the country. We hired Tourism Economics, the nation's foremost travel research firm, to really look into what we're doing now, where we sit, and what the impact is. What this tells us in its report is that not only are we funded, but that's not translating to hotel room revenue, other parts of tourism that we have. Why does hotel room matter? Occupancy? Because that's new money. Those are people coming from out of state in, staying, they stay twice as long, spend twice as much. We were hopeful for up to $12 million in some leftover. Unfortunately, that didn't make it. Legislative champions wrestled back $1 million. We'll see whether that can be something. The predicament of state of Washington tourism at this point is sustainable. So our current $4.5 million state general funds, which is matched one to industry, actually defaults next year. Statutory 1.5. Federal funds are leaving us, seeing the last of those. So those have helped us big time. Program will not be there in the future. We currently work with the industry. We're 501c6, so we need to have a membership program. You know, we think we're not doing our job. With the little money we have, I think we're doing pretty well. The research we recently received points to a 2029 program ROI. And that translates to tax revenue for spending. Fortunately, we need some move. This is where what we built works, but we need a little bit more funding. What you're seeing here is blue is Washington, gray is our competitor, Central Western states, and black is the national for lodging. So again, blue money that flag that tracks across international as well as employment. So you see the trend. We're concerned about that. But what if, after 14 years since the state tourism office was closed, the legislature, what if we looked at funding tourism in sustainable would bring us perhaps through a new tourism industry self-assessment? That means as we ask the industry across multiple segments, hotels, restaurants, tour companies, to pass through to their customers at very, very low fee, saying here 2% of 2/10 and to have a corresponding voice. Could we then go back to the legislature and say, would you be willing to sustain the current level of investment, $5 million, truly partner with the industry, by the way, and then could we go to corporate and say, okay, we fixed our funding problem past 14 years. Would you be willing to put money? We think multiple streams, shared investment, shared base could be a winning model. If we deployed it, what would happen? According to tourism economics, some pretty impactful benefits in this spending, tax revenue, and movements again, as well as lodging tax revenue. This is over a 10-year session. I love to end on a northeast pattern of bar charts. So here will be different scenarios. If we were to achieve the one that we're talking about, it's the greater 18.2 million annual state tourism program. It's a nice pattern. Baseline of what we have now is the horizontal very bottom. $12 billion budget, not as much as back, or $25 billion budget, which is the average state tourism budget in the US, will deliver a lot more. It's an exciting prospect. That can feed FIFA, but beyond. With that, I say thank you. Appreciate
Thank you, David. Thank you, Randy. I want to, Gary, you're going to take us to the breakouts, right? Is that part of your role? So I'm just noting where we are on this schedule. So we're in our, it was going to be a break from 9:45 to 10, but because you all really don't need a break, you are so engaged and so focused, we're going to keep with the program. So at 10 o'clock, we are going to go to those breakouts. But that means we have 5 or 6 minutes if there are any questions for our two previous speakers, Randy and David. And David, I'm going to ask them right off the bat, and is there a mic to get to David over here? And that is, can you talk a little bit about workforce in the tourism industry as we come out of the pandemic? More tourism, what people need to work in tourism. We've got FIFA coming, all these other opportunities. How are we finding the workers and where are they coming from?
So, great question, Chris. We dropped 40% of the tourism workforce. What's really interesting to know is that prior to the pandemic, the tourism workforce was the fastest growing. So look at the potential. The key is that we need to drive business. We need to drive demand for tourism. And from that, of course, business picks up, it's all sectors, and employment picks up. I think as well, we're looking for some really interesting opportunities. There could be some exciting new creation, lots of need, cross seasons, it all works together.
Thank you. Another question, anybody? Ben Walters, you have another Linwood question. You fire that at them. All right. I know our speakers are both available to chat. We are going to, Gary and I have done the mind meld. I now realize that it's my job to do the breakout. So at 10 o'clock in your program, you'll see the different rooms where the breakouts are. Very exciting. We'll come back from those back to this room. So you have a little bit of time here, grab a cup of coffee, some water, restrooms, etc., and then enjoy the breakouts, and we'll see you back. Thank you.